Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Why. I am your host, Dylan Mullins, presented by All American Roof Pros and All American Heart Studios here in Mansfield, Ohio, serving all of Northern Ohio. Today, I am sitting down with somebody that I think that we've become friends because of my love for her place of employment, but more so with how we've interacted through each other, not only in business relationships, but personal. Miss Emily Walker. Emily,
Hello.
Super excited to have you on here today.
Thank you.
I always give kind of like a little introduction, and for me, I always try to focus like on the stuff that's important. So I would introduce you. This is how I would introduce you as wife.
Yes.
Mom.
Yep.
Are you Christian?
Yep.
I thought so. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Those are the big three for me.
Yeah.
And then of course the marketing manager here at our local Texas Roadhouse in Ontario, Ohio.
Yeah.
And that's the order I would put it in, and that's the order I would leave it in.
Yeah.
Maybe put Christian above wife. But anyways.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, so super excited to get to sit down with you, Emily. Just kind of give us a brief introduction, like who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
I'm Emily. I have worked at Texas Roadhouse since we opened the doors in 2012. I started as a host. It was my first job ever. It was like boards in there when I first went in there, and it was back when paper applications were still a thing. Now everything's like online.
Oh yeah.
But my mom went with me. I was driving her around. You know, I had just gotten my license, and I went in, got my application, and I walked back out to my mom. I was like, I have to work there. She goes, why? I'm like, I don't know. There's something about that place. Like, I have to work there. And she's like, all right, like, fill out the application.
Yeah, sure.
And so then I went through the whole interview process, and it always so one of my interview questions, and I will always ask people this if I ever interview, is if you could be anything in your refrigerator, what would you be? And it gets people thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know what the main reason to that question is. What would you say?
Oh, I love milk, so I'd just be the milk.
Okay. See, I put a lot of thought into it, and I was like, I would be ketchup, because you can kind of go with anything, but you also get to go camping, travel. So I was like,
That's actually super
at
good.
16, I don't know why that was my thought process, but that's
We're already on a topic. I think the purpose behind it is like you said, it's just to catch people off guard.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's a right or
Well,
wrong
and
answer.
some people are just gonna say this because it's my favorite, or and I was like, in an interview, I was like that. It was my first ever interview. I'm panicking, I gotta stand out, I want to be picked. So I came up with something.
What happened? Because we want to create that spark for people. What happened in the initial interaction that caused that?
I don't know. I have no idea. I was just so eager, and I wanted it so bad that I was like, no, this is my job. I'm getting this. And then so we got to be a part of corporate sends people that help open the store and train you, and it was a week full of fun. And it's they bring a DJ in,
no kidding.
And we learn line dances, we learn the menu, we learn our job overall, but it's just a week of learning but also fun, and it has stuck with me ever since then.
That's wild. Because at 16, I remember when I my first job was Pizza Hut, and I worked there for quite a few years. And it is wild though, when you get that first taste to just, I remember when I got called, that was the first interview I ever had, and I'm I was so excited, because we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so this was my first opportunity to go out and earn some real money.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember that first paycheck was $200. I'm I'm rich.
That was me. I got a TV for my room, because that was a thing that was you can't get a TV in your room, but if you buy it yourself, that's fine.
Yours.
So I got a little TV and a DVD player, and that was my first paycheck.
That's
I was
hilarious.
So excited.
And they were expensive back then.
Were.
Now you can go get a 70-inch for $300.
Right. I'm okay. I worked hard for that TV, and it wasn't very big, but it had I got a little DVD player to go with it, and finally got a TV in my room, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Well, since we're on the TR conversation, how did that move go? So, you were hostess first, and then I'm assuming you guys don't allow your servers to become servers until they're 19 because of alcohol
At the time,
laws?
it was 19. Now it's 18.
Okay.
Laws have changed since then.
I'm old.
But I wasn't even old enough to serve, and I was approached about doing marketing then. So I was LSM, which is local store marketer. We base our advertising locally.
Yeah.
So you will never see a Texas Roadhouse TV commercial. That's not all of our advertising is local based because they want it to feel like it's
part of the community.
Home. Like we're a community, like small business without, I mean, I know we're not a small business, but it's a chain. That feel.
Yeah.
And so I started doing marketing I was probably 17, 18.
No kidding.
And then
so that took college off the table.
So it was weird because in high school, my junior and senior year, I did a health occupations program.
Okay.
So I thought I was doing the medical field. My mom's a nurse, so I was like, oh, that's like my thing. I'm going to like follow that path.
Footsteps, yeah.
Worked in a nursing home, but also never left Texas Roadhouse. And so then I started going to college, and I was going to college for hospitality management because I was like, well, if I love the whole Roadhouse thing, like I love the hospitality industry. So that's what I went with. I went to Ashland University and then met my husband about November, and we went super fast. So the whole college thing kind of fell off the train,
Fiddled out, yeah.
And that's when I had to leave Roadhouse, was when we got married, because he was getting stationed in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay.
So, which is right on the border of Mexico.
In the Marine Corps?
Yes, he was in the Marine Corps. So it was like, okay, it was sad leaving Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And so I went cross country with him, did the whole wife, mom, had our babies. And then when we moved back, he got out in 2019. When we moved back, we were in Medina area.
Okay.
So there was no way of me going back to Roadhouse, and there's not a Roadhouse in that area. So I was like,
it's just not meant to be.
So then we were there about a year, moved back to Ashland, and that was permanent. And I was like, okay, that's close enough for me to go back to Roadhouse. So I went back serving, and then was approached hey, I don't want to do the marketing stuff anymore. Will you take it over? I was like, okay, say less.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
And at the time, we had a manager. He loved him to death as a person, but in terms of management, he just didn't allow me to excel in the marketing.
Was holding you back.
Yeah, it was limiting on what I was allowed to do.
Was he a micromanager? I know who you're talking about, but I won't name drop. But
it was just more bread runs and leave it at that. Don't get super involved in the community.
Don't get too deep in the weeds. Basically.
Yeah. And I just got frustrated because then I was working nights, weekends. I was going to work at 8 a.m. and wasn't coming home till midnight. And my husband was getting fed up. We've got kids at the house. It's a lot. I can't do both. And I can't let my marriage suffer because of it either. So I left. And that was hard for me. But my husband was leaving for a few months. He was going to Oklahoma for training for his job. So that was kind of okay, he's leaving. I can't be at work at midnight.
Yeah, you got babies to take care of.
Yeah. So I decided to leave. Ended up getting a job at Akron Children's, doing front office stuff. And at the time, that manager left. I was sitting at work and I kept getting texts about, hey, our new MP wants to talk to you. And I'm like, ooh, that's opening up a door that I don't know if I'm prepared for. But
I don't want to go back to that, right?
Yeah, and I was hating, but at the same time, I was hating
just wasn't fulfilling it.
Office stuff. I cannot sit at a desk for hours.
You and me both, sister. Praise Jesus.
That is not who I am.
Yeah.
I thought that that's what I wanted. I thought that that's you get the career. Like, I had gone to school online.
Good.
Like, I thought, like, the consistent hours. And I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I was losing my mind. So I was like, I'm open to it. So then he reached out to me and was like, I want you back. Like, please come back. I need a marketing person. And I was like, I don't know. Like, everyone was telling me no. And when you have everyone in your ear telling you no, but like in your heart, you're like, I want to go back. It's like, where do I like...
Was that fuel to the fire for you?
It was
like them telling you no?
Yeah, a little bit, but it was also like...
Because we all have a villain in our hero story.
Right.
Not saying they were meant to be villains.
Right, and it was just like, I think they all thought that it was going to be the long hours and everything. So then I had like my boss's boss reaching out to me, and he's like, we really want you back. Like, we think that you can do amazing things. And so I finally sat down with our now MP Keith and was like, listen, I have stipulations. If I come back, like, I'm a mother, I am a wife, and that is a priority to me. I need my hours. Like, I need these things.
This is what I need,
And he was like, you got it. And I was like, I'm holding you to this. And he has. I've now been there, gosh, it's been 2 or 3 years now.
Ever since we've been working with you.
Yeah, and it has not changed. I have full control of my schedule. He never questions, like, if I have a sick kid or get a phone call, like, I gotta go, like, go. Like, I'm not questioning you. I'm not like, and he also hasn't had me like, he never expects me to work the floor, work in the kitchen. Like, it's...
Do your job. Stay in your
like,
lane.
you do you. And now I'm in the running for LSM of the year in the entire company. And
That's super
so
awesome.
I'm like really pushing, and they've really like helped with that, like encouragement and everything. So it's been a different management style that has just clicked.
Let's go back to the management style conversation because it came up a few times. Do you think it was just like an old way of thinking versus a new way? More
Very
than anything?
much so. And there's
like this worked before. We're gonna stick with this.
Every manager's different. There are still managers that don't believe in the LSM program. I think that Kent Taylor would be disappointed in things like that because that's like what the foundation was built on. But I think that, some old school just like, it's a wheel and it's rolling, and I don't need to throw anything in the mix of it. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, look at what we have here in Mansfield. Like, it's arguably there's some decent restaurants out there. Like, but as far as like Ontario goes, it is by far, I would say personally, number one. You go in there on a Friday or Saturday night. Good luck getting in. You're probably not going to get
Do
prime.
call ahead, because otherwise...
Yeah, you're probably not getting prime rib if you don't show up at 5 o'clock. Trust me, I've been that guy before a lot. But the proof's in the pudding. So, like, and that was before, we're talking pre-COVID, before you were even there. That's how it was. Yeah. So, I could see 100% where somebody would be like, why do I need to worry about it?
And it's like, surprisingly, we were one of the lower ones in our market, like not making near what some other stores were making. And then ever since like our new people have stepped in and whatnot, it's like we're growing year over year, and it's been awesome to watch. Like, while also to-goes, that ever since COVID, that has added a whole new...
Bro, we were out there like 3 times a week during COVID. Yeah. It was it was literally the best during COVID. Not that COVID was the best, but...
Right, but like if we...
It was the easiest way to go get dinner. Yeah. Well, hell, the grocery stores were closed.
Right, yeah. What
2 hours to get to the grocery stores. Yeah. You guys still had to make money.
Right, and it was like that once they opened that door, like our to-goes haven't slowed down. It's like, that's still a huge thing. Whereas when I first started, when I was a host, we'd get 3 orders a night, and that was on a weekend. Like during the week, there were days where we wouldn't get any to-goes. It was just like a host would help take care of the
And do you guys do DoorDash and stuff like that?
We don't.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know the reason behind that. I think mainly just because they don't want it to lose like it's
the value of it.
Yeah, like,
well, because you guys are delivering it. It's super like I remember during COVID going out there, I was always the runner to go get, and like there was always, y'all were always friendly. Like it was an enjoyable experience. Like the experience, I think that's probably a good portion of it, because you can't control the experience when you have the Uber of delivery services.
Where like someone that just like throws your food on a porch, it's like that might mess up your meal.
It could be fine.
Yeah, it could be fine, but then you're mad at us for the way something turned out. Or
it's a middleman.
Yeah, and I think we don't need that.
No, absolutely.
Granted, I love DoorDash.
Oh, I do too. We use the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I live like a mile. So where we live in Norwalk, I live a mile from the main strip.
Okay.
And we still use DoorDash.
Yeah.
And I complain to my wife, but I'm just as guilty.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'll just DoorDash it here. Like, it's fine.
Right.
Taco Bell's literally right there.
Right.
But like, let's
It's
just DoorDash it.
Sometimes especially this time of year when it starts getting cold out, I'm curled up on my couch in a blanket. I'm not getting up. I will order it and go to the front door.
Our biggest thing is, like, we've got a 6-month-old. Well, she'll be 6 months by the time this comes out. But, like, next week, I think she'll be 6 months. So, like, that's been a burden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Her sleep schedule's all over the place. And,
Yep.
Like, one thing we did start doing was a lot of meal preps. That was a bigger thing.
Yeah, that helps. That helps.
But even at
Air
that,
fryer.
like, air fryer, throw it in the oven, whatever we got to do, right? But
Crock-pot meals, those are easy.
yeah, like last night she whipped together some stir fry, and it was like super. Dump it in the bag, heat up some rice, and away she went. So it was super good. But that's a good point though. Like it's crazy to me. Texas Roadhouse is a good case study. Much like we were talking about the Chick-fil-A thing, like it's a good case study for both, as to like the service industry, because like our industry is a service industry.
Yeah,
we are. You don't buy from us because we're the best roof. Like we claim that, and I'm not saying that if you're a customer, like you shouldn't want to go with us because of that. But also, like I don't necessarily go to Texas Roadhouse because it's the best steak.
Right. Yeah, you could go to a fancy restaurant and get like the best cut of meat, but it's like
I've been to STK, I've been to Rodizio's, I've been to Chris Ruth, Jeff Ruby's. I've been to all those. Yeah. But the experience is a different experience. For me, I'm a family guy. Yep. I want to go in and have a good time.
Exactly what we are. It's like, and it's not, you're not there to sit and have a quiet meal. Like,
my baby starts crying. Like, if you are mad, I could probably punch you in the face and Texas Roadhouse would clap. Right?
We'll give you a
yeehaw. Yeah. I'd get on the saddle. Like, they'd saddle me up after that, right?
Yeah. It's like, we're not quiet when people are like, oh, it's just so loud. It's like,
wrong place, bro.
You might want to go and find somewhere else. Like,
you want it to go order?
The music is going. People are talking. Like, we're hollering. Like, we used to do chants. Like, when we first opened, there were chants that you could do. And
really?
And it's so fun. It's like, I mean, we've got our alley rally. So before we kick off a night, all the servers will huddle up and kind of like powwow, like, okay, we've got this going on, and then it's like Texas Roadhouse, and it's like repeats, and it just gets louder and louder, and it's so fun.
It's funny though, because like a lot of the people nowadays especially are like, that's so culty, but like that's what genuine culture is. Yeah. Is like getting your people to believe in what you're doing.
Very much so. And I always tell our trainers, I'm like, you guys are the culture keepers.
Yes.
Like, you guys are the ones that like, okay, this happened 2012, we opened our doors, and this is where the culture was started. And then it's like the people that are training now, we have to keep that going. Yes. And then it makes it the same across the board at any roadhouse that you go to.
And especially in the restaurant industry, like the turnover is decently high.
Yeah.
Like, it is
cool though. So this year we do stockings for every single employee. This year is the most I've ever done.
That's what I saw your post on Facebook.
But it's also cool because like there were so many that I could reuse. Like our turnover, we always are going to have turnovers.
It's business.
Servers, kitchen people, like it happens. It's like you can't get away from it. But it's so cool to like go through last year's stockings and be like, they're still with us, they're still with us, they're still with us. And it's like, that's so, like that means we're doing something right.
It's a testament to the culture because, like, at the end of the day, and granted, like, money plays a role in that. But, like, especially post-COVID, I've talked about this a lot. And post-COVID, people want to feel secure more than they want to make more money. Our generation, really. Like, how old are you again? 20?
I just turned 29 last month.
Okay, so you're only a year younger than me. I'll be 31 in January. Okay. So, like, our generation especially, we really didn't have any stability growing up. If you really think about it, like we got a new freaking Game Boy every time we turned around. Like,
new iPhones every year.
New iPhone. Like, we went from a freaking. I was just talking about it the other day. The Razor.
Yep.
Where there was the coolest dude in town. Honestly, one of the best phones in the world.
I died to have the MV where you had the
MV2.
full keyboard.
Yes, the MV2 was hands down, bar none, the best phone on the market. Right. But like we went from that, and in a few years now, I literally have a computer in my pocket.
Literally, my kids are learning math, and I'm like, oh, the fact that like you've got the calculator with you all the time, and it was teachers used to be like, you're not gonna have a calculator with you all the time. It's like, yes, I am.
Yes, I am. Yeah. Well, and I was always so I actually have a teaching degree in mathematics. And
do you really?
Yeah. So.
Not my subject.
But even that, like, I don't want to say I cheated, but like I just figured out workarounds.
Yeah.
Like I would figure out how to program a program into my T99 freaking Texas Instrument calculator, and it would spit out the answers for me pretty easily. And now I'll tell you what, with ChatGPT.
Oh, it's insane. The AI thing is insane.
Oh, I'll use the shit out of it though. Yeah. I use it all the time.
That's what we were recommended it because there's like rules when you use certain characters, like the big green guy. Like you can't use certain things. Like at Christmas we have a visitor, and I'm like, okay, how do I post on social media? And she's like, well, use ChatGPT because otherwise, like, it's gonna get flagged and it'll get pulled down. I'm like, oh,
yes. Well, and the cool thing about chat, like as you get into it, like when we first started using it, it was junk. It's junk. And honestly, if you pull it out of the box, it's junk. You have to train it.
Yeah.
That's what we're working on right now with our team. Okay. And like once you train that,
that's
like you have to ask it prompts. So like I have the paid version. I think it's $20 a month or whatever. But like it knows. So like I had it write resumes for Brandon and I for a job that we were putting together. I haven't had to put a resume together since I don't remember the last time I had a resume. Right? So yeah, all that shit I learned in home economics.
Right.
Anyways.
Right.
But like it's crazy because like all I had to do was just give it, like I'd read through it and I'd go, okay, I don't like that, so change that to this and give it some more input and say, hey, I want to fluff this up. I want that to look more professional. But it's what's cool about it though is now it's learned it so much. So I went and created a Wikipedia page for All American Roof Pros because I'm trying to get some good backlinks. And now I went into ChatGPT. I said, write me a Wikipedia page for All American Roof Pros. It writes it out. It gives bios of the owners. It gives bios of our marketing team because I have Ian and Maggie are in ChatGPT. I've had because I've written their marketing plan for the next 6 months in there. So it gave us that. What else did it? So then this is wild. I'm not a coder, right?
Right.
But Wikipedia asked for it to be written in HTML, so then I said, hey, ChatGPT, write that exact thing in HTML that Wikipedia will understand. It writes it in HTML that Wikipedia understands, plugs in the HTML images for the company logo, and then all I did is copy and pasted it. I read it through once because I went to the thing. I'm like, it had the boxes and shit. Like, it looked legit. I'm like, bro, this is wild.
That is crazy.
Literally in 10 minutes, I had a Wikipedia page made for All American Roof Pros. It is nuts.
I think that's like the good side of
it is. There's a negative. The cool thing about chat in and of itself is like the creator or whoever has made it, it's a safe like platform. Like you could put your kids on there and they're not going to be able to find. You couldn't type in like how do I kill somebody or something. Right. It won't let you.
Yeah.
It won't let you. Like it literally says, I'm not.
Yeah, I will not.
Yes.
Like,
but there are going to be AIs that come out that that do, and there's a negative side to it. But like if Elon Musk is clearly smarter than both of us combined,
right?
And he says there's a lot of good to it. Like there is.
Yeah, and I think there is, and I think that it's definitely a future for us. Like it's hard because I want my kids to not be like full tablet kids. Like go outside, play with the ball. Like I'm good with that, but like at the same time, I'm like they do need to know how to use electronics, like because that's the future.
Yes, they're going to be behind. That's the same thing my wife and I have run into is like the fact that my wife works on a horse farm. My daughter goes with her every day.
Yeah,
she has a horse already. We want her to like learn that value of hard work and all that good stuff, but like at the same exact time, she has to know how to use these tools in order to, because they're tools. That's
Right.
the thing about ChatGPT.
Right.
Like if I went to you, Emily, and I said, hey, Emily, I want you to start making Facebook posts for us. Use ChatGPT. Have you ever seen, and we're guilty of it, so I can make fun of these people. Have you ever seen like the people that they'll make like a Facebook post for their business that has like all the shitty emojis around it, and you're like,
Yeah.
bro, that looks like garbage.
Yep.
Well, that's because you just use ChatGPT out of the box and you can
Yep.
say, hey, remove the emojis, make it engaging to the customer. I want the voice to sound like this. But that's the thing is like,
Yep.
once you understand all that stuff, it's like, oh, the world's mine.
Yep.
The world is literally mine.
Yeah, you can still have control over it.
Yes.
Without like make it your own.
But the prompts have to be correct.
Yeah, like let it help you, but
The
you still
input
have-
has to be the
Yeah.
input is what is the outcome, right?
Yeah.
So like, and then tell it what you don't like.
Right.
And then it'll learn it.
And
That's what's
it'll-
wild.
Yeah. That's
It literally
crazy.
can be built. Like we started. We have another program that we use to write blog posts, and you literally give it like 5 or 6 prompts. It spits out the blog post. You put in the title. It will add splash images into the blog post. Like
Yeah.
I could write one about Texas Roadhouse, and I could say I want it to be about roofing and why and blah blah blah, and it'll literally like why Texas Roadhouse is the best place to eat
Yeah.
for roofers, right?
Yeah.
And it'll literally write me a blog post about like why Texas Roadhouse is the best place to eat for roofers, and then I can add voices.
Oh.
So we have a voice now, voice by like meaning like who the author is.
Yeah.
We have a voice now that is contractor talking to homeowner. So I can,
Wow.
and then I can make one that's contractor talking to contractor. So like,
Okay.
what is the level of dialect? So like, am I
Yeah.
going to talk about things on a super high aerial
Yeah.
level, or am I bringing it down to you? And we're going to use a lot of analogies, right?
Crazy.
So it's super cool stuff, but yeah, it's wild.
hard to keep up with sometimes.
The craziest statistic I have, it sticks with me to this day, and it really, we've lived it. And this goes back to the same conversation piece about the stability, and that's how we got here. But
Yeah.
like if you remember back in the day, do you remember like having like a 56 gig memory card was like
Yep.
the top of the top, and it was like 300
Yep.
bucks. So there's a law. There's an actual scientific law that states that I think it's every 3 years. There's a date to it, maybe 5. Every 5 years, that chip cuts itself in half for how much space it needs to store that amount of space. So eventually they'll be so small. That's why we went from the big ass USBs
Yeah.
to now we're
Like the floppy disk.
yes, the
thing.
floppy
Yeah,
disk. Yep,
yeah.
that had like a gig if you were lucky, right?
Right.
All the way down to the big SD cards. Now we're on the micro SD cards. I don't know if they can get a a mini
Gosh,
SD.
I just bought one for my son's Switch, and it's like this teeny tiny piece. $20, like
They're dirt cheap.
They're dirt cheap, and I'm just like, I'm going to the store like I really don't want to buy this thing. It's going to be expensive.
Well, that's what we're relative to,
And then
right?
I'm like, oh, it's $20, but it's like this big. I'm like,
That's no different than the TV conversation we were having.
right. It's like, yeah, and the smart TVs, like you press a button and it's like you have everything.
So we have a puppy because my wife and I are stupid. And we bought a puppy for our daughter before she was born. So the puppy's 9 months old and our daughter's 6 months old.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great. She's a golden. She's
Okay.
a chewer.
Oh.
And we have went through about 5 TV remotes.
Oh, no.
So finally, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I literally have an app on my phone now.
Yeah.
My wife and I both have an app on our
Yep.
phone. Literally, I can literally turn on my TV from sitting right here.
Yeah.
It's
And
wild.
It's crazy. Lights are that way too now.
The smart lights. I can
yeah.
tell Alexa to turn on my under cabinet lights. Like
right. It's like insane.
it's wild. But you know what? I think it's all for the better for the most part. I think
Oh, for sure.
the issue is on the kid conversation.
Ever seen though the Smart House movie is an old
Yes,
Disney
the old
movie?
Disney movie.
Yes.
Yes, when she turns into the
It's like,
mom.
oh God, is this like what it's gonna turn into? AI and all the smart
Well, then
lights
now,
and
now
everything.
Elon's got the robots.
yeah,
that
right.
he's coming out with.
We're in for it.
iRobot's coming to life
Like
here soon.
90s kids are like, that's what they go
I'm
to.
terrorized, man.
yeah.
But the on the conversation of like the kids, I think just equipping your kids
Yeah.
to use that stuff properly.
And use it smart. Yeah, like use it like
Well, because we were like so anti.
and monitoring. I think it's on the parents too to monitor like what your kids are doing.
Kid YouTube.
Yeah.
Use like
Yes.
you can sit on
And then
your
go
iPhone.
back, like
Yes.
look at what they're looking up or look at what they've watched that day, and
And
like
there's an app for it.
Yeah.
There's an app for everything now. There's
Literally.
an app for literally monitoring your kids. You can monitor it from your phone. I guarantee you it's out there. If not, I'm developing it tomorrow.
heard it here first.
Tagged mine. But that's the thing is like
Yeah.
you have to monitor it because we obviously don't want to suscept our kids to how nasty the world is.
Right.
The world's horrible.
Right.
It's horrible. People have I've posted my daughter on social media. We talked about, my social media stuff and whatever. And people are literally like, I can't believe you put your kid out there. And it's like, here's the thing. Here's the way I look at this. If people are that nasty and disgusting, they're going to figure out a way to be a weirdo one way or
regardless,
another. Yeah. So I'm going to do the things that not only bring myself joy, but the people around me joy.
Right.
That's the way that I look at
and like who is ultimately, like my Facebook, my kids are all over my Facebook, and it's like my family's on there. Like I'm not going to not let them see.
Yeah, we have friends and family all over the country.
Well, with Dylan being in the service, it was like I've met people from
all
over, and I love watching all of our kids grow up. Like I was in a group of girls, and we were all military spouses, like Marine spouses, and just watching, like, we all kind of had kids around the same time, and now it's like we all watch each other's kids grow up, and it's like I love that.
Yes.
Like, while I may not comment or heart every single post that I see, it's like, no, I see it, like, and I love watching everyone's families and how they've changed over time and things that, like,
watching things develop, like that's the biggest thing. And like it's probably a little bit selfish for me, because I want that shit to pop back up, and I want to be able to see it and be like,
very much so.
Oh, she
like
was
the
that
memories.
little, like in a year when she's a year old, like I want to be able to pop up and be like, oh, that was her. You know,
like
that's enjoyable to me.
Yeah, like my 8-year-old now, I've got pictures of him popping up on my memories of like 7 years ago, and it's like, like he was that little,
and it flies.
It does.
It flies.
In that moment, you think, oh my gosh, this is the longest night of my life. Like, this is, like, why won't my kids sleep? And it's like, and I was always like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over. But then it's over. It's like, now I'm being soccer mom and dance mom and like.
And it's such a power struggle too, because like, our daughter, she sleeps with us, and like, beat me up on the internet. I don't care.
Right.
She's 6 months old. She's my wife. She sleeps with my wife and I. And we literally were having this conversation last night. I'm like, you realize she's got to go to her own bed.
Yeah.
But in my head too, I'm like, no, I don't really want her to. Like,
wait a minute. Then I'm gonna feel empty.
Yes. Yeah. Then like I want to have 7 kids, so then that way this never stops. And I want to have them like a year and a half apart. Yeah. Right. But like that's the struggle. And like the best quote in the world is like, what's the best part about having kids? Watching them grow up. What's the worst part about having kids? Watching them grow up.
Yeah.
It is. It's horrible. Like. But it's also the most amazing thing, like watching her develop. It's cool to watch
their own personalities, like sprout, and like just watch them grow as a person. And like, I always hear the whole like they're the worst for you. Like, we always go through the struggles of like attitudes and whatnot. But then it's like our neighbor. We have a good group of neighbors, and like our kids will go over and play, and then I'm like, hey, can you send them home? He's like, yep, they're on their way. And he's like, your kids are always so polite and so well behaved. And it's like, oh,
at least I did something right.
Thank God I'm doing something right, and thank God that I can trust them to, when I'm not there, that I have taught them enough that they are respectful and good human beings when I'm not present. Like, you always give the nudge, like, say thank you. But it's like, okay, they are doing it even when I'm not present, which is like okay, I'm doing something right.
We align there. And it's funny, though, because, like, when I was doing the trunk or treat, it's amazing to me, like, how many kids didn't say thank you. And it's not that I need the kudos.
Right.
For me, it's, like, just a respect thing. Like, I don't care. Yeah. I'm going to give you the candy regardless, kid. Yeah, I want to see you be happy and all that good stuff. I got to the point where I was probably being a little bit of a butthead, where I was like, yeah, you're welcome. Like, and it wasn't like to be like higher than them or anything. I just want kids to be respectful.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't become a teacher.
Right.
I was going to smack a kid.
Right.
Like, that's the whole reason I did not teach. And I don't understand where that got lost. Where our society has gone to where we're like, we want to be their friend, not their parent.
Right. I'm your parent. Like, I want them to feel comfortable with me, to come to me about things in life.
And that's the power struggle.
And it's like, okay, where do I, like, okay, they tell me this and I really need to be angry, but like at the same time, like, okay, it's a teaching moment. Like, I need to.
Because our kids are going to screw up inherently, especially if they're half as bad as their parents. But like my biggest thing is like I want them to respect me enough to know that they shouldn't be making that decision. And this is where it becomes hard, right? Because like I also want them to know that if they screw up,
that they can come and talk to me, and that
they're drinking at a party.
Right.
Call me.
I would rather you call me and get you out of that situation.
Let's talk about it in the morning.
Yeah. Go to bed. We'll chat. Like,
I'm not going to say anything on the car ride home.
Nope.
That's my entire philosophy with that.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you learned a lesson. Like, yeah, I'm frustrated that you made that decision or whatever, but it's like, okay, you also were smart enough to realize that you screwed up, and so it's like,
and they're passing a test, right? Like one of my favorite biblical analogies, I guess, is the teacher's always quiet during the test. Like I think as parents we should take that same adage, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna just be quiet. You passed the test. You called me. We'll have a conversation about it tomorrow when I'm a little bit more level-headed.
Yeah.
I
also like have never been one to like baby my kid, like. And I was never babied. My family spoke to us like we were not adults, but like it wasn't like, oh, like all the time. It was just like, no, we're having this conversation, and it's like I do that same energy with my kids because it's like I don't want to baby them, and like they're gonna be subject to things in the world, and it's like I'm not gonna baby that. Or
what age did you start? Like, because there had to be a pivot point for you. Because, like, obviously when they're infants.
Right.
Gaga, right? But, like, when their cognitive abilities start to come in, probably around 3 or 4.
That, especially right now, like, my 8-year-old, it's, like, trying to get on his level of, like, he's at an age where he's acting older, but I know he's still a little kid. So it's trying to find that. So, like, Rory's 6... That's an age where it's like, okay, what, like, I have to remind her all the time, I'm like, quit talking like a baby, you're not a baby. So it's like, I feel like that's like the age where they start kind of connecting things too, is like, obviously 3, 4, they're still like.
Yeah, and that's, because like, that's something that my wife and I have had conversations about. We've been super fortunate to be able to watch other people, like, my kid starts crying because I leave the room, like, let him cry. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and, I'm rushing back. Like, right. No.
Or, like, at night, sometimes, like, I'm a cried out mom. Like, they got to learn to self-soothe and, like, find their peace.
They have to become people, right?
Right. There's a degree to the whole cried out. Like, I'm not going to
if they're sick or something.
And I'm not going to leave them there forever to cry. It's like, no, like.
Just let them start to work through that
or like
stuff.
when they come downstairs, if I send them to bed and whatnot, and then they come down like 20 minutes later and it's like, I can't sleep. I'm like, okay, read a book or something. But like, I can't do anything to help. Like,
yeah, you got to figure that out on your own.
Yeah, like I don't, at this age, I can't rock. Yeah, like, it's not like a baby you rock to sleep. It's like, no, I.
Yeah, and that's it's. My wife and I literally talked about this the second we left the hospital. We're like, because like my my sister-in-law, they're getting ready to have a baby, and they're like, yeah, they're going to teach us all this stuff. Or no, my mother-in-law said this. They're going to teach you all this stuff at the hospital. I'm like, they don't teach you jack shit at the hospital.
They left me.
They literally like, vitals good? All right, you good, homie.
Yeah, so we had my son in Yuma. My daughter I had in Ashland. So it was like, I was unwell after I had him. I just like was so out of it. They didn't include me on his first bath. Like nothing. It was just like Yuma was a different environment. It was like everything was in Spanish. Yeah, it was a hospital off base. Okay. So Yuma's a smaller base, so there's no like birthing unit. There's a medical center, but it's like you see a primary person there, but like everything else is off base, and it's right on the border of Mexico, so there's a lot of cultural different from where I grew up. Oh, yeah. And it was like we had to ask for an English menu, so it was just like, wow, this is like a huge culture shock. But then it's like after I was so out of it, and it's like I missed out on some things because it was like they just came in and did the bath, didn't include me. This is my first kid. I have no idea what I'm doing, and so it was then when I had my daughter Rory, I had her in Ashland, and it was
And they had a birthing unit there, right? Like it was an actual birth center or family center is what they called it.
Yeah. Which now you can't have babies in Ashland, which is crazy. Like that.
Yeah, it's wild. Down. They just took that away.
But I had such a different, more positive experience, and it's wild how different places are. And
it is too, and some of it, like you probably knew what more to expect on that second one.
Yeah.
Right. Like you kind of had your ground rules. Like I'm blessed. My wife, she's a rock star, so she like had all that set up. Like she's like, I know I want this, and this.
Yeah.
Like she had a doula.
Okay.
Like it was a whole thing. And we ended up having our daughter at Bellevue Hospital, which they have like birthing suites, which were really nice.
Yeah.
And then like the staff there was amazing. We were literally the only people on the entire floor that were having a baby.
Yeah.
So like that was
you get a little extra attention.
Because everyone wants to see the new baby and you know all that good stuff. But then like
now, is there a nursery there?
There's not.
There's not. Okay.
So they don't take the baby away.
There wasn't in Yuma, but then in Ashland, they were like, the baby can come hang out at the nursing station with it. Like, they kept the baby for a little while, and it was like, wow, this is such a different, like, I had two very different experiences.
So they did do that. They did, because we were the only people there, and we had the same nurses both nights. She a little pain in my ass. She was born, my wife went through like 36 hours of labor. She started contracting on Tuesday around 3-ish, and we don't know the exact time.
Yeah.
Went to bed, got home. My wife's a trooper, like genuinely. Goes to bed. We go in the next morning. They're like, "You guys are going to be out and out of here. We'll have this baby out by noon." Wasn't more until 1 o'clock the next morning.
No.
But the staff there was amazing, and it's a very good story.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, but so if she was born an hour earlier, we would have got out a day earlier. But since she was born she was born on Thursday, not Wednesday. We didn't get out until Saturday morning. I don't believe. It might have been Friday morning. I don't remember.
That was the other thing that was weird was like in Yuma, it was like we hit the 24-hour mark.
See ya.
Get out.
Yeah.
Like they pushed us out the back door. Like it was see you later. And I was not prepared. Like I was like, I was also 20.
Oh, yeah.
So I was
no family.
No family. Dylan and I are doing this on our own. Like I was just like,
and he's in the Marine Corps, so he probably got a week or two worth of leave.
And we're just like, what is happening? Like, and my family we didn't know when we were going to have him. It's like, I don't want to fly out there. Like, my parents work and everything. We can't just hang out and wait for a baby. Like, so they didn't come out until like a month after. But it's like, then Rory, we were in the hospital like 2 or 3 days, and at that point we were like, okay, like we're ready to go.
That's what we were like. It's like we're done. We're
ready. Here. Yeah, like I want to get my own space. Yeah. Like, but it's like the whole like, see ya after 24 hours. I was just like shell shocked.
Yeah. Well, they're like, you could stay longer. We're like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. My wife was back. Like she literally couldn't stay away from the barn for more. Like I think our daughter was in there at 3 days old.
Yeah.
Like we got bored. We got bored at home. Like, that's just who we are as people.
Right.
So, like, but I understand.
It's the whole, like, sitting at a desk thing. It's like, I can't sit here. I got to go do
and we're both the same way. Like, neither one of us, she works harder than I do by all means. But, like, I'm in the truck all the time. And, like, we're just like, nope, can't do this. Like, we had our 2 weeks, I think, is what we kind of made it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
Back to work.
Yeah. So, we literally, but it's back on that same topic, though. Like, they don't give you instructions. There's not an instruction manual at all. They make you watch a video like, don't kill your kid. Right. Literally, that's what the video is. Like,
here's how to give birth, and then here's
like when it starts screaming, just don't shake it. You know, I mean, literally, that's what the video is.
Yeah.
And
it's like, take a deep breath. It's like, okay.
Yeah, set her down. Like, I get that.
I get that.
Can you tell me how to change a diaper?
Right.
Like, the umbilical cord, I was changing her, and the stub fell off.
Oh, yeah.
And I, like, freaked out. I'm like,
wait a minute. Like,
it's, like, on my thumb, and I'm like, what do I do? I call my wife in. She's like, I think it's fine. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It's
sure.
off. So.
Yeah. But yeah, but there is genuinely nothing better than being a parent. And
literally. It's
like, I feel my heart hurts for the people who are like, I'm not having a kid because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I understand 100% the people that like just can't.
Yeah. I feel
my heart hurts for those people.
Literally.
But it almost hurts worse for the people who are like, I'm not having a kid because of my career. And it's like, that's literally...
It's so cool to see, like, these little people that are pieces of you.
Yes.
And it's like, my daughter looks just like me. My son looks just like my husband. And it's just like, whoa, like, we created that.
Yes.
And it's like, your love created that too. It's like, you know, our marriage is our, like, foundation. Like,
It is.
and I
It
always
should be.
tell people, I'm always like, never stop dating your spouse, because kids, it throws in a whole new mix. And we love it, but it's like, at the end of the day, you need to remember, like, what brought you two together, and then, like, then you look at those kids' faces and you're like, wow, like, you know, we fell in love. I was 19, he was 20, and we met, got engaged, got married, and pregnant within a year. It was a lot, and it was fast, but it was like, it was the same thing with, like, Roadhouse. It was like, I walked in there. I knew I had, same thing with my husband. I, like, went home. I was like, Mom, I met my husband. She's
You got
like,
hella intuition.
shut up. Like, you're a freshman in college. Like, boy, crazy girl. Like, you did not meet your husband. And then, no, I really met
Here you
my
are 10
husband.
years later.
Yeah, and so it's just been, like, cool to watch.
Yeah, it is. And like my wife and I, we met in Nashville, 600 miles away from home on a Friday night. I moved. That was Good Friday. I moved in on Easter Sunday, and we literally have been inseparable ever since.
That's awesome.
We skipped the whole friends thing. Like, we were never.
No, I literally grabbed, so Roadhouse kind of is full circle for me. So the whole reason I met my husband was kind of because of Roadhouse. So I worked with his sister at Roadhouse back when I was host. And then I saw her out. I was college bar, you know, hanging out with friends. And I saw her and I was like,
Riley's?
Yes, it was. Yep, which is now not even Riley's
It's not
anymore.
Riley's anymore. Yeah.
And I grabbed his sister. I was like, she's like, oh, this is my brother. I'm like, you have to hook me up with him. He's perfect. Like, he's mine. She's like, I got you. So it's like, because of Roadhouse, I kind of met him. It's just like,
But there's
wild.
no such thing as coincidence in life.
No.
At all.
No.
None of it.
It's meant to be.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Is not, because it prepares you for who you're supposed to be. I mean, if you're a person of faith, which I know you are, like, God gives us tests for a reason.
Very much so.
Like, the best thing in the world is pray for patience, and it'll give you something to be patient about, right?
Right.
But it's
Kids.
yeah, kids.
Patience.
My daughter last night, trying to get her to go to sleep. I'm like, can you just? But she's fun.
Yeah.
That's what's if she wasn't fun, it wouldn't be so.
Right.
But like when she gets slap happy and starts laughing and just,
It's like, how am I mad at this right now? Like,
yeah, she's literally blowing bubbles and cooing at me, and like,
Right.
I was like, I know you're tired, bro.
yeah, like, same. Let's just like,
Yeah. But it literally, there is nothing better on this planet. But I love what you said about like the whole spouse thing, because like your kids are gonna leave someday.
yeah. Yeah, and then what do you have left? Like, I am lucky enough where now we are surrounded by family. Like, and that's why, like, when Dylan was in the service, we built a community. Like, I played on a spouse league kickball team. Coolest thing ever.
That sounds fun.
So it was like, we would all bring our kids and stuff. So, like, we had friends that would keep, at the time we just had Brooks, it was like, they would keep Brooks so Dylan and I could go have a date night. Now we're thankfully around family that will keep our kids for a night. And it's like, I always make a point to like, okay, let's go do this together. Like,
yeah, that's something my wife and I have struggled with so far. Like so neither one, up until about a month and a half ago, neither one of us had spent a night away from Lainey.
okay, yeah.
I spent one night on Middle Bass away from her, and like we're still trying to navigate that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But at 6 months old, like it's really hard.
It is hard.
My wife's still breastfeeding, and
yeah,
that
that
whole thing
adds a whole other level to it. So,
yeah.
But even just like an evening away, like even dinner,
That's
it's like, okay,
we haven't got there.
Oh, okay.
I know.
It'll happen. It'll
will.
happen. Make it happen too. Like, I'm also like, I always am like, I know it's like the new baby. Like, you just like, it's hard.
We've done them and just take her along.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's how. I mean, carrier, like, nap, like, he's napping, we're eating.
Bro,
like,
if you're going to, like,
the best
if you're going to crossways look at my kid while she's crying in a restaurant, like, we can have words.
Right.
I was literally at Bob Evans the other day.
But how else are they supposed to learn how to be in public?
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing, too. It's like, my dad was funny when we were little. He told my mom, he's like, we're not going out in public, like, with the kids. And then they went out once, and we were well behaved. Someone paid for their meal, and, like, we were angels at dinner apparently, and so then it was like, okay, like,
we're good.
they have to learn. Like,
Yes.
you have to learn how to
Well, you got to
behave.
make them members of society.
Right. Like, I'm not going to not take you anywhere. So then the first time you go out, you're like not knowing how to act. Like,
we were at breakfast the other morning, and this older couple, and a lot of the older folks are, they're like, oh baby, all that good stuff, and they like, our daughter started getting fussy, and they like started looking at the crossways, and I'm like, she's 6 months
6 months old. Like,
she's just fussy.
Yeah.
And she wasn't like screaming.
Yeah.
She was just like making
She has
noise.
a moment. Like,
Yeah. And I'm thinking like,
Well,
I want to go say something to these people. Like,
babies can't communicate what's wrong.
No.
Like, maybe she has a gas bubble. Like,
and my daughter's easy. Like, she's tired, her butt's wet,
Yep.
she's hungry.
Yep.
Those are the three.
Yep. So it's like, I mean,
We're gonna go through this.
and it's as if like they look at you like you are enjoying the crying.
Yeah, like,
and the fussiness. Like I am
just
just
pinched her.
loving
Yes.
that my kid is screaming at dinner. It's my favorite. Like, this is why I couldn't. No, that's not like.
I don't. Back when my wife and I it was just the two of us. Like, people would apologize, and I'm like, why are y'all apologizing? It's fine.
It's a kid. They're learning.
You're not disturbing my dinner.
Right.
Like, it's one. I'm
If
at
I
Texas
want
Roadhouse.
right, if I want a quiet dinner, I'd have stayed home or gone to some fancy
Yes.
restaurant. Like,
And I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm trying to give my daughter experiences that a man can't.
Right.
Like, we going to a fancy restaurant,
Right.
and if you want to look at me crossways, I'm paying the bill just like you
Yep,
are, homie.
yep,
Like, it's not that I'm trying to be, any kind of way about it, but like, I don't understand the society where we've gotten to the point where people are just like, you're disturbing my peace. Like, when that happened to my wife and I, we were at some fancy places and babies were crying,
Yeah.
and they're apologizing. I'm like, we're still we good.
we're good.
Yeah, the food was good.
we can drown that out. Like, yeah.
It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but people make it a big deal. They do.
Mm-hmm.
Something we haven't touched on that I definitely want to go down the
Okay.
path of, the meningitis story.
Yep.
Because I think it's a pretty big part of your life.
For sure. So I was in college. I had just started college, so it was September. I was going to Ashland University. I was commuting. So my parents I went to Madison. They live right off of 30, so it was an easy commute. And I used to get headaches, like migraines,
Yeah.
and I would be to the point where I would throw up. And so I had gotten those since I was a kid. My dad was the same thing when he was a kid. And so I got a headache, but I just felt shaky. And I was like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I went to the nurse on campus or whatever. They were going to give me a shot in my butt and told me it was allergies. And I was like, I know my body well enough to know that this is not allergies. And I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
I'll go drink some Gatorade and eat. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, have a good day. So
I'll go down to Convo and get a slice of pizza.
So I just was at Convo, and then of course I was driving back home and my car broke down. And so we got it back up. My dad came and helped, and I went home and was like, okay, I'm going to hang out. I had a friend with me. We were going to go out that night. It was a Thursday night. It was like, that's when we would go to
Thursdays, whatever the thing was. Yeah.
And so I was like, we're going to go out tonight, but I just really need to like chill, like take some medicine. And it just got worse and worse and worse. Finally, my mom was like, I'm going to take her back to camp. Like, she lived on campus. I'm going to take her back to campus. Like, you're not well enough to go anywhere. I'm like, yeah, I don't, like, it's one of these migraines. I just can't kick it. And so my parents weren't, like, overly worried because this is something that, like.
It wasn't abnormal.
Yeah, like, Emily gets headaches. That's life. Like, that's things that happen. And then it just progressively got worse, and it got late, and I went in my room, and my parents were like, we're just going to leave her be. They went to bed. Well, at some point in the night, I got up and I pulled myself to my parents' bedroom, and I collapsed on their bedroom floor, and it got them both up. So my dad used to be a paramedic, and my mom's a nurse, and they were like, okay, something's wrong. They called the squad, and I will never forget, they got me, like, we had a landing on our steps, and they got me to the landing, and I will never forget my dad, like, looking at me, like, trying to get me to talk and speak to him and, like, tell him what's wrong. Like, I was looking at him, wanted to respond, but I couldn't.
It was almost like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, it was like, I know you're speaking to me, but I can't respond. Like, I was stuck. So, I don't remember the squad ride. Like, I blacked out. Like, I have no recollection. That the last thing I remember was, like, my dad speaking to me. Well, then, my parents made a quick decision, so they're kind of on the line where Ashland Hospital is just as close as Mansfield Hospital. So I had broken my femur in high school and had gotten care at Ashland, and they took really good care of me. So my parents were like, take her to Ashland.
Yeah.
Like, we like that hospital.
Which was kind of always the sentiment when we were kids. Like, you just went to Ashland.
Like, better care there, you know. And I came to it in the ER for a brief moment, and it was like the worst experience. It was like your body's gonna explode. Like, there was a feeling like my body was gonna explode. I couldn't stop thrashing. Like, I was just so uncomfortable. Like, I heard people talking, but I couldn't, like, speak. I couldn't control my body, nothing. And turns out, like, that's like the feeling of, like, your body, like, it's shutting down. Like,
no kidding.
So what I didn't know was I had a spinal tap, no recollection of anything that was done. And on a whim, the physician was like, start antibiotics. I don't know what this is, but
let's attack something.
And that's what saved my life.
No kidding.
So your spinal fluid is supposed to be clear and have sugar in it. My spinal fluid, when they did the spinal tap, it looked like milk and had 0 sugar in it.
No kidding.
So I was life flighted then to Riverside Hospital, and I was in ICU for a while, and that's when they determined. So my test didn't come back as positive for meningitis because they had already started the antibiotics, but it was like, it has to be obvious. Yeah. Like, it's obvious that this is what it is. So then that's like something that's highly contagious. So, like,
that's what I thought, yeah,
they had to, like, let kids know at the college, like, who I had hung out with, and, like, they had to let the college know. And so it was like this wild thing. I was in the ICU for a week maybe, and then I was on, like, a wing, like, outside of it. So then
step down.
Yeah, and it was like I would have headaches. Like, it was like, just from recovering from it, I was on antibiotics, but, like, I would still have really bad headaches. So then right before I left, they added a PICC line. So a PICC line's like a permanent IV, basically. Horrible experience. I hated needles at the time. Like, I was still the kid that would cry having to get my blood drawn or anything. That kind of changed everything. Yeah. So
yeah, you gotta just get used to it. I'm gonna die if I don't freaking put up with this, right?
So before I left the hospital, or at some point I got another spinal tap. That was a nightmare. But I got a PICC line, and they sent me home I had a home health nurse. She would come. I had an IV bag that was hanging in my room, and I was pretty much bedridden. Like, I was miserable.
How long did that last?
Weeks. So probably through October. Yeah, and I was trying really hard to still be a kid. Still, like, I was a freshman in college. Like, what is happening to me? And I felt well enough to go to the Ashland football game. So my parents were like, we'll go. Like, you can see friends, whatnot. But I came home and was feeling really crummy. So then the next day, I started feeling like my eye was scratched or something. And my dad was like, what's wrong with your eye? I'm like, I don't know. It just feels funny. Well, then I was brushing my teeth and I went to spit, and it was like, you know, when you go to the dentist and it's like numb.
Yeah.
My mouth wouldn't form. So we went back down to Riverside. They thought it was a stroke. My whole, like, one side of my face was like paralyzed. And so I was getting tested for a stroke, anything. Like, they were just trying to figure out what was going on. And I still had my PICC line, still like recovering from meningitis. Turns out I ended up with Bell's palsy, which is where a facial nerve swells and pinches, and it causes facial paralysis. And it can be any permanent to only last a few weeks. And being told, okay, well, half your face doesn't work. You're a freshman in college, like, good luck. Like, it might get better, it might not. It was a really terrifying moment, but progressively got better. I would like watch myself in the mirror. I like practice all the time. Eating, I would have to hold like a side of my mouth like while I ate because I just couldn't. It wouldn't function. It wasn't that it was numb. Like, I could feel it, but it was like I can't help that my like it's hanging.
Yeah, it's not you like, doing it intentionally.
Yeah. So just. And at the time, I was trying to go into sorority. That's a whole other, not my thing. I was in one for the year or whatever, but I was like trying to do the whole college experience and everything, and my face progressively got better. And then I got my PICC line out, had healed everything, and then like a couple weeks later, met my husband. It was awesome. Like right after my face had gotten better. And ironically, we had been friends on Facebook. I don't know why. Probably because I like knew his sister and she would talk about him at work. And it was like, you just add anyone.
Yeah, back in the day, man.
Back in the day, it was like, oh, I know of you. Like, add. So
we're friends
he was
now.
like, I've watched your entire like journey on Facebook and I've always wanted to like reach out and everything. But like, just didn't, I don't know you. So I didn't want it to be weird. But yeah, it was like then everything took off. But yeah, it was a wild experience, and it like opened your eyes as to like, okay, I almost lost my life.
Yeah, what was your biggest lesson from that?
Don't take anything for granted. I mean, that's like, the obvious of like, be thankful. And it's like something can happen so fast, and like, it teaches you patience. Like, like, have my face not working, be patient, like it'll get better. And so it's just one of those, like, it makes me value things more. Family especially, like I'm huge on like, I never want to regret not doing something or not reaching out. Like, I am heavily involved with my family. Like, my grandparents live in Ontario. There are days where I'm just like, okay, I need to step out of the store for a little bit, refresh, and I'll go eat my lunch at their house just because it's like, they're around. I know they're around, so I'm like, I'm going to go talk to them for 30 minutes to an hour, and it's like, just not taking any of those people for granted, because it's like, there's a chance that you never know. Like,
yeah, and that's absolutely true. I'm in the Dead Grandparents Club. All four of my grandparents have passed away, and that's probably one of my only regrets. And I don't even know if I'd call it that, because I like to think that I don't live without regret. But like the amount of time I squandered when I was in my youth.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's like, I mean, they're
driving by their house and I didn't stop.
Yeah, it's like the not last of your priorities, but it's like your priorities are so shifted when you're young, and
they're jumbled all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm worried about going out and having fun, or working, or there's so much more to life. Like, no one got to the end of their life and regretted spending too much time with somebody that they cared about.
Right, and that's friends too. Like, it's hard. That's where like the wife and the mom and the like trying to make sure that every once in a while I still make time for those friends, and we all have different things going on in life, but like, man, like, let's just go grab dinner, like, or a drink or something, just real quick, so we can catch up on life.
That's something my wife is super, like, she's doing Mexican tonight.
Is she?
Yeah, like, and I'm all about it. Personally, I like, I don't know, I'm not a recluse. I've built my life to where it's so busy. Like, not that I've forced
That's how my
friends
husband
out.
is. He's like, I mean, he has friends that he'll text and whatnot, but he's so like homebody, like.
Yeah, the unfortunate part for me is like, all of my best friends live all over the country.
Yeah.
It's just like we can go grab a beer. Right? Like, it's so that's the hard part. But my wife, she's got some great family that are friends, and I love to see that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because it's like making time for the things that time is valuable for. Like, I tell people all the time, I could make more money.
Right.
I'll figure out how to make money better
Right.
than I do now.
Right.
Quite frankly, I've learned a lot of hard lessons along the way. So, like, if they take all this away from me, if this building's gone, if
Right.
my business is gone, not that I want it to be,
Right.
God, I'm not praying for that.
Right.
But if it were to happen, and you throw me, my wife, and Lainey and our dogs in a cardboard box down by the river, we'll figure it out. Like,
Right.
and I'll come back better than ever.
Yeah.
But as long as I have the things that are important to me,
Yep.
that's what really matters.
Well, and it's like valuing life. It's like, okay, you know, like I was given a chance to like keep going. And so it's like, I wouldn't have been a mother. I wouldn't have met my husband. I wouldn't have had the chance to possibly be on stage for Texas Roadhouse or like the community involvement. Like, I wouldn't have been able to help raise money for this organization or like participate in
now,
this. Yeah, and it's just like, there's a reason that God was like, I'm not done with you yet. Like, keep going. So, and it's, you know, I'm present. I try to be like...
Be where your feet are.
Like, very...
I tell my team that all the time. I'm like, just be where your feet are.
Yeah.
Stop. In the world we live in, and that's kind of been the root of our conversation, like, the world we live in is so fast-paced.
Yeah.
I literally can pull up my phone right now and see what's happening all over the world. But if people would just slow down, be where their feet are, spend time with the things that are important. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that people should be productive members of society. They should go out and make their money. They should provide for their family in different aspects. You know, there are things that you can do that your husband can't, and vice versa. I'm a firm believer in all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like I said, no one got to their deathbed and was like, man, I wish I would have invested that stock.
Right. You don't die with your money. Like, it's...
Never seen a hearse fall by a U-Haul.
Right. Like you have all these memories to build, and it's also like teaching my kids that, you know, we're in town, we're gonna stop and see grandma and grandpa, and it's like, yeah, it's 10 minutes, but it's like 10 minutes that I'm never gonna get like with them again, and it's like, you know,
something good happened.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You never know.
That's what's scary about this life, but also really kind of beautiful, like in its own way, is the fact that things can change so rapidly.
Yeah.
And we don't get to control it.
Right.
We have variables that we can control, and that's what we're gonna stay in our lane for.
Yeah.
I know you said don't talk about politics, but I think it's worth bringing up, and I'm not gonna go on a political side with it. But like the folks that were so worried about who was going to be in the White House. Who's in the White House is a hell of a lot less important than who's in your house.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Very much so.
And why we care so much about that as a country
what
is
you
wild.
teach.
Yes.
Like, you, at the end of the day, your kids come home to you.
Yes. And they're watching you.
Yeah.
As
and
men,
I always just lead with love.
Yes.
Like, you know, especially the community involvement piece. It's like, I didn't grow up maybe like these kids that I'm helping raise money for or giving toys to, but I'm going to show them love and lead with love. And like, this group needs a meal donated. Awesome. Like,
let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's be there to support them. Football team going the next level in a playoff game. Like, hey, we're looking for a donation, like for a meal to feed these kids. Absolutely. We want to cheer you on. Like, you're a part of our community.
Yeah.
We're cheering you on. Like, because you guys are setting an example for future kids too, and it's like,
yeah, and I think that both of our businesses relate to this. We can't do this without our communities,
right?
And if more business owners understood that, even if you're B2B, like you cannot do it without the community that you live in. Sometimes if you're
because if our culture was, here's your steak, here you go, have a good day, like, people aren't going to come back.
It wouldn't be successful.
If I don't have to be at community events. I enjoy it because that's what I love, but I also think it shows the values of our company. Like, you know, we've always been that company that is family based, and we want like people to have a space that they can come. So it's like, you know,
bring your babies. Let them cry.
Like, I'm gonna go to this event and give a free kids meal card out to these families because, hey, maybe that gets them one night where they just get to like take a deep breath, not worry about dinner, and watch smiles on their kids' faces. Or fundraising right now, like we've got fundraisers going on with Christmas and whatnot, and it's like they're trying to go on a field trip. Like, let's help them get to raise money so that they can go on that field trip and build those memories.
And the crazy part about it is helping other people is like you get to fill up their cup and you get to make them happy. But it's amazing to me, like just in my experiences, when I go get involved with something that's bigger than me, like it is so much more valuable to me with that aspect than it is to maybe even them, or that they realize. Yeah. And I never gloat about that. I'm never telling them like I'm here for me to fill my cup.
But it's like naturally happens.
There's so much in goodwill.
Are you guys heavily involved with the veteran stuff, just with Brandon's history and like his?
So when we boiled it down, like we tried to focus on the people here, and for us, the culture inside of this building is super important. And talk about your team leads being the culture keeper. Like we look at that as like everybody in this building is a culture keeper.
Very much so.
We pour our core values all over the place, happiness, ethical, accountability, respect, and team. Like we want those things. And those aren't something I just came up with that are buzzwords. Right. Those are things that we took our team together at a retreat and we said, hey, what do we stand for?
Yeah.
So when we looked at that, we're like, all right, so who can we help, or who can we focus on that's bigger than us?
Yeah.
And for us, it comes down, obviously the community piece is huge, but we looked at three, I wouldn't even say less fortunate groups of people, but just like people that necessarily wouldn't even ask for help, or groups that wouldn't even ask for help. I can't necessarily say people because what I'm about to say, and we boiled it down to vets, pets, and kids. Vets don't typically ask for help.
No.
Ever.
They're stubborn.
They're super stubborn. It's
Speaking from a veteran spouse.
Yeah, and you've been around plenty of guys who were active duty, and I'm sure you guys are plenty involved just with knowing what you do with veterans, and they just don't ask for help. We had Joe from Ultimate Vet Adventures. We're working with him on some stuff. Amazing guy. But he'd never come to you and say, hey, man, we need something.
No. And I've loved working with them. I find myself gravitating towards veterans just because of...
You're going to naturally be inclined.
Yeah. So working with a group like that has been awesome because I know the joy in what they're doing, like the purpose behind it. Like
the why is bigger than the why not.
Yeah. So we have things, it's called Bubba Whys. It's like why we do what we do. So our founder, Kent Taylor, his nickname was Bubba.
Okay.
So we also have a sister company, Bubba's 33. So it's like Bubba Whys. It's like, why are we doing what we're doing? And it's like seeing them, like, I know exactly why they're doing what they're doing. It's cool to watch.
The real gratitude is the biggest thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I've never written a check to somebody or given my time to somebody that I personally am going to regret. But I will look at myself and go, I'm not doing that again.
Events. I feel that way. Like, I'll be at an event and I'm like, man, this just wasn't worth it, or it didn't
fit the mission.
Yeah.
It didn't fit the mission, or a lot of times with us, what we found is like it comes back to the people who are running the organization
and their attitudes.
Yes. Do not expect me to do this.
Yep.
That's my thing. And once again, I will never, like Dave Ramsey says it the best, no one got to the end of their life and was too generous.
Right.
It doesn't happen. Like you never will regret generosity. But that being said, I will decide to shut the tap off.
Yeah, and it makes me kind of like, this year was my year of yes. Like, I was all in, like...
And we've had those years.
And it's like, okay, if I'm trying to make it to be the top of the company, like, I'm going to say yes. But then there's times where it's like, this year especially, I'm like, okay, that wasn't an event that I want to return to.
It didn't move the needle forward.
It didn't, like... Heck, that's not going to be...
Or sometimes it's just we aren't a good fit for that organization.
Right.
I mean, quite frankly, that's a lot of it. Like, we just don't align.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's on your core values or who you are as people. Like, quite frankly, like, I want to see people that are out there doing the hard work that, they're going unthanked for. Because a lot of the stuff that I do is unthanked. And I'm okay with it. Yeah. I don't need to be in the spotlight.
I always get that little bit of, like... We get thank you cards every once in a while from groups, and it's always like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like an enjoyment, but
don't give me my flowers. I don't need them. Like, we did donation shirts for the Erie County Fair because my wife's heavily involved, so we sponsored the shirts. I have never 4-H. I'll give a shout out to 4-H because Those kids, I literally have a stack of cards like this tall
That's
of
awesome.
kids that wrote thank you cards, and
Yeah.
I wear my shirt every day, and it's just
Aw.
like, yeah, my name's on it. That's great.
That's awesome. But
At the end of the day, these kids got a shirt because, like, you remember when we were kids,
they're
man?
the hardworking.
Yes,
Like,
and they align with us.
Yeah.
That's really what we try to look for now. Like, because we were in that period of yes. You
Yep.
come in, you ask me for something, yes. Like, there's some organizations that we'll look at it and we'll go, okay, does it really move the needle forward? And not even necessarily like, is it going to get me more business?
right.
Business is a side effect.
Right.
That's
yeah,
not
it's like,
why we do it.
Right.
It's a side effect. Don't get me wrong. We're
Yeah.
selfish to a degree. We put out this podcast because we want people to have brand awareness and brand exposure.
Yeah.
And we love to bring people on. We talked about Texas Roadhouse. So it's the same way for you guys.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, is it going to be something that's going to be fulfilling?
Right.
Or do I see that the money's going to the right place?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm around an organization long enough, I'll go, yeah, something ain't adding up here.
Yeah.
I got a good vibe meter, man. Like, I'll be like, nah,
Yeah,
bro.
no,
You ain't my guy.
Yep. Like, we, thankfully, for the way we do things, can see, like, our ROI. So, like, if I pass out free kids' meals, I'll see, so it's got a barcode on it. I can see what's coming back. So it's like, okay, I had 2 turned in from that event. Is it really worth my 4 hours of work and
You gotta
the
start weighing it
setup?
out.
And
Yeah.
it's like, wrong crowd,
Yes.
you know? And it's like, okay, debating. And I'm also like giving away the house. Like, you can only give away so much before it's like, okay, this isn't like, yeah, I'm going to give you all this, but we're not going to see anything. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, you still have to look at it on an ROI scale. Just
yeah, it's about a balance.
Yes. But also at the same time, like, sometimes the ROI is just, like, knowing that you're helping out a good
Yeah,
organization.
right.
Genuinely. Like, you could see $0 back from
Right.
it, but knowing that your money's going to a good place.
Yep.
Like, we'll use Joe as an example.
Yeah,
I know for a fact, because I've seen Joe's books, any dollar I give Joe is going to go
Yep.
to making sure that a veteran gets a
very much
badass
so.
adventure.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's like, I will always, you know, those organizations that, you know, they set up a table and like they want to be right at our entrance talking about what they're doing and their why. And it's like, I love that. Like, that means you are going to back what you're doing 100%. And like,
You're going to represent my brand well as well.
yeah. And so like,
That's probably the biggest
our Jeep
thing.
nights, he always set up on Jeep nights, and it's like, you know, people recognize him, and it's like, oh, like if
He's
we drop
here.
our receipt in, 10% goes to them, and I know exactly where it's going.
Yeah. Well, that's the that's the real like catch-22 about it is like you don't want to make it about money, but also at the same time you have to make it about like some kind of
Yeah.
return.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
because we all have a business to run and all are trying to grow and.
I got to be making it in order to
Yeah.
keep spending it.
Yep.
You know,
exactly,
like-
exactly. Like, if you want me to keep doing these events or donations, it's like, I gotta keep. I
gotta sweeten
need
my
to
pot
see
a little bit.
something. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the community involvement thing is huge though, and I think so many businesses overlook it because like it's honestly the cheapest marketing that you can do.
Well, and I think that's why, like, Kent Taylor founded Texas Roadhouse on not doing national advertising. It was like, no, our communities are the ones that are going to be the ones that join us for dinner. So focus on the people that are actually going to be coming to dinner, not.
And it's crazy because like you guys, you can tell that like once again I've been to a lot of Texas Roadhouses. You can just feel the atmosphere is different in different ones, and it's not necessarily good or bad. Like sometimes it's just a reflection of where they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm in a small town and it has a Texas Roadhouse, like that has a small town feel to it.
Yeah.
If I'm in a big town and it has a big Texas, like it's wild. But I think that so many business owners like want to emulate that, but they don't know how.
Yep.
They think that they have to go out and spend all that money on this ad, this ad, this ad.
Well, and it's like, billboards are awesome, but like,
It's brand awareness.
it's like, okay, but what else are you doing on top of that? Like,
How are you continuing to
Yeah.
engage? Like it's great.
engagement, that's like huge. It's like, do people know your name, or they just see your face on a billboard, or like, have they ever spoken with you? It's like,
Yeah, the brand recognition is massive, right? And that's all Billboard does. Like nobody's it drives me wild. Maybe I'm giving away the bag on this one, but like it drives me wild when people put like phone numbers on advertisements, especially like a truck wrap,
yeah.
right? This is my philosophy with a truck wrap. the same with billboards. Make your logo as big as possible. Make them remember who the hell you are, right? And then they'll call you based on that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? It's all at their fingertips on their phone. Same goes with the billboard. There ain't nobody driving down the damn road who's like, that number was 419-989.
Nope.
No, they're not doing that.
Nope.
They're not even remembering your damn website.
Nope.
At best, you can, for you guys, you can put up a picture of a nice juicy steak or some freaking prime rib or something that gets people
They're
thinking.
like, wait a minute.
Yes.
But the logo. It's like they see the logo.
The logo. Yeah. Who is it? That's what they want to know.
Yeah.
Who and why.
Yep.
And that's no different than community engagement. Community engagement, like, you don't need to pass out literature at community engagement. Especially, we both do golf outings inside of our business.
I love golf outings.
I play in a lot of golf
I
outings.
did 20 of them this year, which is insane. And I don't know if I'll do that many again next year. We'll see. It's hard because now that I've opened up that door, it's like flooding. But it's like, they know. They know exactly who I am.
What you're offering.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and but at a golf outing, I play in a lot of golf outings.
Yeah.
You give me a piece of literature at a golf outing, it's probably going in my bag and I'll pull it out in 6 months and I'll throw it away.
Yep.
Like, you have to give something that's worthwhile.
There's drinks
to me.
flowing.
Yes.
There's conversations
it's gonna
happening.
Get lost. Even the free appetizer cards.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to lose it. Like, I probably told you that on a golf course that we've run into each other. Like, yeah, this is great. And I'll maybe stick it in my wallet.
I'll stick it in my wallet, but
yeah, exactly.
I'll forget about it.
Exactly.
But it's like, that's what I love about doing the golf outings is like, yeah, we're passing stuff out, but like, we're also raising money for the organizations. And like, we've raised, gosh, thousands of dollars for.
And that's where the why becomes bigger than the why not.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's big. That's truly what makes it bigger than us as people. And I think if the world just took a deeper look at that and got involved with their local golf outings that are raising the right money and got involved with their local 4-H clubs and got involved with these local community things.
Or like find something that you love that can give back. Like, you know, maybe golfing isn't your thing, but like the animal shelter is or something. It's like find something that piques your interest that you can align with and promote, because I feel
and figure out how to shift it to a marketing degree.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Like
right.
you gotta like I tell my team all the time, like we're not putting our name on stuff because we're trying to get business. We're putting our name on stuff just to let people know how we're involved in our community.
And you're not gonna put your name on things that have nothing to do with like who you are as a company.
If it doesn't align with you.
It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So
if it doesn't align with your core values, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right? But that's the thing, is most people don't have core values. They don't know what they stand for.
Ours is a legendary food, legendary service, so it's like you're gonna get the same thing.
So if I boil that back, to me, I would say that that's some form of nourishment.
Yep.
So providing, because that would be the food. The service is just being a servant.
Yeah.
Servitude, heart of servitude, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the two big ones. I mean, that's easy to find an organization that lines up. How are they filling someone's cup, and how are they serving those people? Right? And that's easy. Like I said, ours is happiness, ethical accountability, respect, and teamwork. We want to see organizations that work well together on an ethical basis, that are accountable to their donors.
Yep.
And show respect to their communities, along with providing some form of happiness.
Yeah.
I just came up with that on the spot. I'm good.
There you go. But we've got our they're numbered too, which they're in the book. I would have to look at it again. But our last one, it always sticks out to me. It's fun, but it's like ... with a purpose. So it's like fun with a purpose. And it's like, have fun with what you're doing. Like, enjoy what you're doing. But like, there needs to be a purpose to it. Like,
get a why behind it.
Yeah.
Get a why behind it.
For sure.
And once you have that why becomes bigger than the why not, it's amazing how much people will gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
Once they figure out that you're doing something bigger than you, that you're helping facilitate, it's amazing. It really is.
And I think there's so much potential to our community. Like, that's why I will always back it up and always push, because I feel like there is good here. Like, there is so much to be seen here. And like, I think everyone has the same end goal of like, we want this place to thrive. So it's like working together to build that community up. And
yeah, and that's the frustrating part, because I think a lot of people take a pessimistic look on things nowadays. And they just think, oh, Mansfield's this, Mansfield's that. But it's really not.
I've seen so many good things out of Mansfield, and like I see progress too. Like
Things
it's-
moving in the right direction.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the funny part is like back to that worried about who's in the White House. Like, it's not people who are in public office; it's people.
Yeah,
It's just people.
yeah,
I've had a lot of conversations sitting in that chair right there with people in our communities that are working to make this community a better place, and I have yet to have a politician sit in that chair.
yeah.
You have the power to go out and do it.
Right. Very much so. And it's like your community is who you're building around you. And I've said this multiple times with the founder. Like he said, build your board members. Like surround yourself with who you would choose to be your board members. Like who backs you, and there's so much progress in our community that it's like, okay, there's bad parts of our community. Any community.
You could be in Jeromesville, Ohio, and find bad parts of the community. It's freaking 50 people.
Right. There are bad parts anywhere you go, but like finding the good and building the good to outweigh the
And I think
poor.
if people much like you could take a mindset of life happens to me, not for me, or for me, not to me. I'm sorry. That in and of itself is a game changer. If you look at it, let's use our community as an example. If you look at it as, well, Westinghouse left, GM left, all this bad stuff happened to me. Oh, great, it did. You're right. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge reason why they built this Texas Roadhouse where they did. GM's booming, like things are happening. We had a mall at the time. It wasn't
The mall hospital.
it wasn't a hospital at the time. It was like, oh, we have things going on. But then the course has changed. But it's like, okay, look at positive. Next Gen's
booming down there.
Booming.
They've actually run out of them. Like, they can't source any more
like they're
employees.
like building. There's people just bought the mall.
And they're revitalizing it.
Trying real hard to revitalize it. So like I've been talking with them about different things. Like there's possibilities. So it's like, we weren't expecting things to shut down, but like there's so much good happening now. It's like,
but the whole world has a valid example that everybody can say at a relative. I don't give a shit what community you live in. COVID happened.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You saw a lot of businesses close down. You did.
Yeah.
It was a fact.
Yeah.
There were a lot of businesses
I
that
worked
could
in a
not
nursing
pivot.
home at the time, and what an experience.
Yeah, no kidding. That would be good for you.
Yeah, it was wild. And you learn, like, we were those people's families.
Yes.
We were their community. Like, they couldn't see their families. It was locked down. So it was like, we are their family. We're coming in there to work. And it's like taking 2 minutes of your day to maybe talk to them.
Make them smile.
How was your day?
Yeah.
Like, I'm here. Or like, maybe you put one piece on their puzzle just to like change their mind that day of how they're feeling.
But that's a valid example. All the businesses that closed, I would challenge those business owners for the most part to say that they were people who let life happen to them.
Yeah.
All of us that made it through it, because I survived a business during the pandemic, life happened for me. I figured out how to do it a little bit different. I figured out what people's needs were. Texas Roadhouse figured out what people's needs were. They let life happen for them, not to them.
Yeah, and some people that don't want to sit inside. Maybe, and for a while there, you still had people that were scared of COVID and things happening. Okay, our to-go is booming. So, unfortunately, we're hoping to rework our store a little bit eventually. We don't have an indoor waiting area anymore. And it sucks because the newer stores have a to-go room along with an indoor waiting area, but like we were pre-COVID.
Yep.
So our indoor corral waiting area is now our to-go room, and it's like we had to rework. Like,
yeah, you just had to pivot.
COVID happened, sucked, but like, hey, sales are booming now with to-go. We got to rework it.
We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
We got to figure it out. And that's what, it is a huge lesson for folks is like, if you can figure out how to take this bad thing and turn it into something good, your life will always be okay.
Yep.
Your life will always be okay. You lose somebody you care about, whatever that is.
The meningitis
you get
thing.
meningitis.
Yeah, it's like, man, that really sucked, but like, how do I change the course of the future? It's like, it makes you rethink things. Like, how
do I pivot?
Yeah.
How do I pivot? How do I just figure out how to do it a little bit differently than I was before because of X, Y, and Z? And
Yeah.
it's just amazing that, and I think that if more people took an outlook like that on life, the world would be just so much better place. If people in our community here in Mansfield took that outlook on life,
Very much so.
the world would be such a better place.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, oh, he has the newest iPhone, no, I've got what I've got. I'm going to make it work.
That's what, like, you get what you project. So if you come into my restaurant and you're rude to the server, it's like, what does that get you?
Yeah, I'm going to be a dick back.
It puts them in such a sour mood. Like, it ruins their night. And it's like, what do you gain from that? What, like, if you come in here and you're like, just the worst, like, okay, I understand you could be having the worst day, but like, take a deep breath and maybe like not take it out on your server.
And what are you solving?
What does it solve? Like, because now you've put someone else that is there to get money for their family. They're working their butt off to feed you and to bring you a good hot meal, and you're taking it out on them being angry. And it's like, project what you want. Like, if I project happiness, or hey, maybe I'm having a bad day, but I'm still gonna like be kind to my server. Like, they're trying their best in life too. Like, we're all human. Okay, a server screws up, brings me the wrong drink. It's like, hey, I meant this. Like, it's okay. Like, we're human.
I've got a good server story. Actually, it was
Oh.
so my wife and I went. This is the location in Sandusky. We went, sat down, got our rolls, ordered our appetizer. We're sitting there. We sat there for 2 hours. We ordered our meal, and she just kept bringing us rolls and refilling our drinks. And finally, I'm like, "Hey, so when's our food coming?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, they should be out." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Like, she goes back. She's like, "Oh, I'm new and I forgot to put it in." Blah blah blah. And this is a very good example, because in that moment, I could have been the irate guy and just, been a dick and made her night worse. And I just looked at her and I said, "It's fine." I said, "Well, the good news is we're full on rolls and pickles."
Right.
And she's like, "Well, we'll get it to go." And, she tried to make it right.
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, you're good." I said, "Don't worry about it." I said,
Yeah.
"Just bring us the bill for what we have." Still left her a couple bucks. Like,
Yeah.
she learned a lesson that night.
Very much so.
But I could have taken that and just been a complete asshole, made a big mess
Screamed at
about
her,
it,
yeah.
left him a 1-star review on
Yep.
Google, whatever. But in that moment, I just gave her a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and we're dealing with like coaching and getting our to go back. Like, there's been some screw ups, whatnot. And it's like, I'm trying to, when I run food out, I'm like, hey, we're human. Before you pull away, run through that bag and make sure everything's
it's
there,
good.
because
if something's
sometimes
messed up, let us fix
I'd
it.
rather fix it now than you call and be upset that you just got home and didn't have something for your kiddo, or, it's like,
Whatever it is.
because I get mad.
Yeah.
I understand being a customer on the other end of it. I get it too. Like, I don't want to get home and half my meal not be there. Like, or
Especially what I paid for.
yeah, like,
Right.
and it's, you work so hard for what you make, and then you don't get what you asked for. And it is frustrating, but it's like, if I can fix that, let me. Like,
And I think for our people, like, the biggest thing is, like, putting them in a position to where they can do that.
Yeah.
And figuring out processes to fix before it becomes an issue. Catch problems before they become issues,
Yep.
right? Dr. John Maxwell talks about it, and if you've never read any of Dr. John Maxwell's stuff, he's amazing. But I think it's in his book. I'm going to screw that up. I'm not going to quote the book, but he talks about what we call the elevator principle. So the elevator principle basically means that we're either bringing people up or bringing them down. You have one of two options. There was a time in my life when I was suicidal. There's no other way to put it. Had I not gotten enough of that up, who knows?
yeah,
Who knows? And it could have been as easy as a smile at the gas station, saying hi, holding the
Yep.
door open for me, whatever.
Yep.
That stuff makes a difference.
very much so.
And people don't realize that as, they think, I talk about it all the time. I have a keynote that I give on it. Your shit's not special. The stuff that you're going through is not unique to you.
Right.
You think it is.
You think in that moment it's the end of the world, and you look back and are like, in school, like, what you thought was the end of the world. A friend broke up. Like,
Yes,
it's just
the
like
drama.
The drama. And it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But then you look back and you're like, I don't remember any of that. Like,
I don't, but that's the thing. Like, you have to, like, that's where you have to do a self-reality check and go, is this going to matter in 5 years?
Yep.
Am I going to remember it?
Yeah.
I remember that Texas Roadhouse experience because it was funny. I'm
Right.
a good
It's
storyteller. But
Right.
it didn't matter.
Right. It's like, it didn't make or break your life.
No.
Like,
I was sitting with who was going to be my wife.
yeah.
We had a great meal or time.
Good conversation.
Great
Yeah,
conversation.
like-
It's a funny story that we tell now. I don't think I've ever seen the girl back. Otherwise, I would have probably razzed her about it.
Right.
We never had the same server twice, so it didn't matter
Right,
anyway.
right.
But, you know, in that moment, I could have. You have an opportunity to pick a path. We talk about the biblical sense of it. Like, God made us in His image, and what's the first words in Genesis? God spoke. That's right. You know,
Yeah.
God spoke. We're made in His likeness. We have the opportunity with our tongue to manifest things, whether that's good or bad. And for you to want to cast some form of negativity on somebody that's not necessarily relevant, I'm not saying that there's not times in our lives when we shouldn't be upset,
Right.
but it's not.
Yeah, and you're
is it
allowed to
worth
have
it?
moments. We
Yes.
all have moments. We're human. That's life. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have moments where it, like, slips. And
We all do.
I've done that, and
I'm guilty of it.
like, yeah.
I lose my mind on people I shouldn't lose my mind on.
Right. But then it's like, okay, like, hone back in. Like,
I'm good. I'm level-headed. Like, and the thing that I think more people need to realize, though, is especially in the world that we live in post-COVID, that person may not have enough positive in their cup.
right.
It's a serious thing. You have to try to project that little bit of positive on those people. Like,
Yeah.
it goes back to the community service type thing that we're talking about, like giving back to the community, playing at golf outings, having a good time. Like, yeah, I'd love to sell a roof to every freaking golfer I come across at the
Right.
golf course. But if I can just make their day a little bit better, razz them about the hole, whatever that is,
Right.
just have a good time with them. Like, that's the stuff that matters. That's the stuff that people remember. People don't remember, this is marketing. People
Right.
don't remember at the golf course talking to Emily about what their specials are this week.
Right. They are going to remember a funny moment or, like, yeah.
The experience.
The experience, yeah.
Yeah, you busting their chops because they didn't, it was a crap
Right.
shop. Like, that's the stuff that they're going to remember, and that, quite frankly, it's the stuff that sticks with people.
Yeah. Some of my favorite memories from golf outings are when people, like they'll give me their club and be like, okay, you hit it. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if you want to see this.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, those stick with me over, okay, I got your $100. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's
You know,
not-
the bill. Yeah,
Yeah.
You came and saw us at the store, and I got a
Yeah.
sale out of it. And that's the thing. Like, if let's say, heaven forbid, that Texas Roadhouse location closes down for X, Y, and Z, doesn't matter. If that were to happen, that's the stuff that you're going to carry with you. You're not
Yeah.
going to say, "Hey, my marketing efforts generated X amount of dollars."
Right.
You might on a resume.
Right.
I can't tell you the last time as a business owner I looked at a damn resume. I shouldn't be saying that for potential employees, but it doesn't matter.
But, well, like my husband, when he got his job, I mean, they were flipping through, like, they didn't read them.
No.
They saw that he was a Marine and his job code, and he was a Marine. They were like, you need this guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, they didn't give, granted, the federal resume is insane, but it's like, okay, maybe it's just like, maybe, let's say post Roadhouse, if I don't ever intend to leave
Yeah, of
Roadhouse,
course.
but like, say I'm looking for something, maybe they recognize my name from an event or something. Maybe it's like,
Something in community you were involved
Yeah.
with, and that's the real thing. Is like, if people just take a step back and just enjoy life, date their spouse, like, just
Yeah.
be present.
yeah,
That's
For
the
sure.
biggest thing. Well, it was really good talking to
Yes,
you. I
thank
feel
you.
like we covered a lot, but I'd
We
like
did.
to open up the last couple minutes. If there's anything else that you would like to share that we didn't talk about, the floor is yours.
I'm good. I feel like we've covered so much. Like,
It was a really good conversation.
easy.
It's in my top 5, and I think I say that almost every time I do it. I get a lot of top 5ers, but this one was a really good conversation. And as I wrap this thing up, guys, like, if you didn't get something out of today, I don't know what's wrong with you. We covered so much. Emily is a great steward to our community. Her and Texas Roadhouse have been phenomenal assets, and this has no. Like, yeah, we talked a lot about Texas Roadhouse, but there was a lot of leadership and marketing lessons and things like that in there. It's not here to promote her. So if you got that out of this, go back and rewatch it. But as always, if you got something out of this, or you know somebody that needs to hear a lesson that we talked about today, share it with them. Get it out there to them, and and just continue to be a positive light in people's lives and just try to make people's lives a little bit better than they were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, we're not getting out of this life alive, so we might as well enjoy it while we're here. So
And eat Roadhouse while you're here.
and eat Roadhouse. That's my favorite restaurant. I'm guilty. This all came from Roadhouse.
I went last night. I got home from work, worked a little bit at home, and then was like, all right, kids, we're
Going to Roadhouse,
going
baby.
to Roadhouse.
But yeah, eat some Roadhouse and just enjoy life. And don't be cross-eyeing my baby because she's crying.
Or there'll be hands thrown.
Yes, absolutely. I got bail money now. I'm at a different point in my life. But share this episode. Get it out there to your friends. And as you go through life, man, just continue to ask yourself, what's your why?